now available on e-readers everywhere. From the author of the Simp Trilogy, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, Manginas, They Look Like Men But They Act Like Ladies, and The Misadventures of Captain Sailor Holcomb's Stop Simping in the Workplace. Learn what mistakes not to make with women and protect your job with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available on e-readers everywhere. Yesterday we had National White Women's Day. And as a part of National White Women's Day, we had a whole host of white feminists talking about how they were going to have a protest called A Day Without Women. And this protest was supposed to make a statement of how important white women were to American society and to send a message to men, basically mostly white men, that without this white woman, you won't be able to do anything. Now, the reason why I call it National White Women's Day and A Day Without White Women is because these protests have absolutely nothing to do with black women. And any black woman who participates in these type of protests is completely insane, because these protests are about these white feminists and their agenda. They have nothing to do with the black community at all. Unfortunately, many of these black women don't understand this and believe that they are women first and black second, not understanding that feminism is a white supremacist construct, and white feminism is about promoting white female supremacy. But anyway, we have these white women talking about they're going to have this day without white women, and their reason why they're doing this is because they are going to protest President Donald Trump and his policies and send a statement to him about women's rights. However, this is completely backwards when you think about it, because over 66% or 53% of white women, depending upon the demographics you look at for research, voted for Donald Trump. So when this majority of white women voted for Donald Trump, they were pretty much saying that they support his policies. Why would you go out and vote for a man who you say his policies are not beneficial to you? When I look at these white females who come out here and talk about a day without women, again, your vote pretty much makes the statement that condemns you. Because you're going to sit here and say you want a day without white women to protest a president that you say you have a disagreement with, but a large majority of you, almost 2/3 depending on some polls, voted for Donald Trump. And again, by that vote, you are making a statement that you support Donald Trump and his policies. So when I watch these protests from these white women talking about they're having their day without white women, again, I just shake my head, because this makes absolutely no sense. You're going to vote for a man, support a man, and then say you're against his policies and you're going to protest him. That's completely backwards when you think about it. Because again, Donald Trump would not be the president of these United States if it were not for the large majority of females who say that they want to go vote for him. He got the presidency again based on that 66 or 53% majority of white women and white males and Hispanics and Hispanic females. That was the core of Donald Trump's victory in the 2016 election. So again, I look at this day without white women, and again, it makes no sense. And what is even more mind-boggling about this so-called day without white women is the behaviors of some of these white men out here. Now, some of these white men do not understand the whole concept of feminism, especially a lot of these simps and these manginas. And I remember watching a report last night on Channel 11 News where they had this bar, and this bar owner sat there and said he was going to give these women a paid day off to go out and protest, not understanding what this protest was all about. Because if you understood what this protest was all about, you would tell these women, if you take this day off, you're on your own. Because literally, when these women go out here and protest like this, they are protesting against you, Mr. White Man. And they're saying to you that they have no respect for you. Because when they go to have these protests like that white feminist march farce on Washington, these women were basically saying, they hated the patriarchy. Well, where do you get your pay from? You get it from a man who is a part of a patriarchy. So when these guys give these females a day off, talking about a day without white women, they are basically slapping themselves in the face, because this female is basically saying she has no respect for you and she has no regard for you by participating in this type of protest. So when I look at this day without white women, and it is a farce, because you can't say that you are going to protest the guy you voted for and then say you're going to participate in a protest to show men how important you are, when again you're getting your paycheck from this man and he's going to pay you. And again, that's really backwards, because this guy is sitting here paying you to slap him in the face. And that's why I say this whole thing is completely backwards. And what makes it really racist about this whole day without white women is that many of these white males will give this white female a pass for protesting him. However, this same white male will become outraged when other minorities go out to protest and have their day without immigrants. Now, when it came down to this day without immigrants, these white males were ready to fire immigrants who participated in this act of insubordination. However, when it comes down to his white woman, he gives her a pass. Moreover, he makes excuses for his white woman, saying that she is, in her rights to protest. And yes, they are right, that they are in their right, constitutional right to their protest. However, there is a consequence to that. And again, you don't pay people to slap you in the face. And this is what the beta white male doesn't understand when he pays for women to protest in days without women. He is paying this woman to disrespect him. And he doesn't understand that, the same standard you had for the immigrant needs to be the same standard you have for the white woman. And if you don't have the same standard, what's going to happen is you're going to have an inconsistent standard. And what's going to happen is your female is going to think she can disrespect you on the regular. She's going to think it's okay to disrespect you and say, oh, this doesn't apply to me, and I can continue on with business as usual. Because one of the big problems with your white male, especially your beta white male, is that he doesn't want to go face to face with this white female the same way many of these black men don't want to go face to face with this black female and confront her about her behavior. Because when it comes down to the decline of America, both white men and black men are going to have to take a look at their women. Again, we go back to the old African proverb, which says, a race can rise no higher than the moral position of its women. And we can look at the women who protested in that white women's march on Washington to see how low the moral position of white women has declined. When we look at the moral position of those white women who are wearing vagina hats, carrying around bloody tampons, and pretty much protesting and talking about patriarchy, we can look at the moral position of those women and see it at the rock bottom level that it is. Because when we look at the behavior of the black woman, we see that her moral position is low. And the reason why her moral position is low is because she is copying the behavior of this white feminist female. And this white feminist female pretty much operates in the gutter. So if you want to raise the standards in America, this white male, again, is going to have to confront his female and confront her about her low moral position. Unfortunately, when it comes down to this white female, this white male doesn't have the backbone of the stones, just like this black man doesn't have the backbone of the stones to confront his female about her low standards and her low behavior. I mean, we look at the Miley Cyruses and the Madonnas and the Beyoncés, and again, the reason why these women behave this way is because these men enable this behavior. And again, the whole white women's farce on Washington is, again, completely backwards, and the day without white women was just as farcical, because when we look at the white females who are out here protesting Donald Trump, the president they voted for, these are the most privileged women in the world. They come from the most privileged position in the world, and they're talking about they're being oppressed. I mean, how is it that you're being oppressed when many of your employers are giving you basically a day off to go protest him and slap him in the face? How are you being oppressed when some of these same employers are also paying you to take a day off to go protest them and slap them in the face. When we look at this bigger picture regarding this day without white women, again, this is another day that where they're not protesting Donald Trump, they're protesting to protect gynocentrism. And that's what they want to do, is continue maintaining the gynocentric system that benefits them. And again, I have said that Donald Trump isn't going to do anything to harm the gynocentric system because he benefited from the gynocentric system by getting 52 or 66% of the white female vote. So that's a voter base that he's not going to offend. So when you look at all these females out here protesting, you wonder, what are you protesting for? You pretty much are the most privileged woman in the world. You're going to continue being the most privileged woman in the world. And you pretty much are one of the large voting blocs that Donald Trump needs. So I don't see him going against you to wind up alienating you 4 years later. So I look at this day without white women, and it's, again, another farce that white feminists are pushing, and another smokescreen to make us believe that, this white female is so oppressed and that she's fighting for women's rights, when again, she is fighting to preserve the gynocentric system that has benefited her over the last 100 or so years. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.